Jalen Brunson, game winner here.
Brunson puts up a three.
From a military veteran who lost his legs in the line of duty. I had less of a reaction when my legs were blown off. Luka Doncic, how he moved, looked at how he moved before he came to America, before he was introduced to American food. And it's like, the fact of the matter is that the Lakers underperformed here. Do you think there's any vindication for Nico Harrison?
Shedeur Sanders, this message is directed to you.
I think he took on the persona of a DB, not a QB.
He adopted a lot of similarities to his father's personality. His father's personality fit with positions that he played and how he played football. It just doesn't match to a quarterback. So I'm with Cam here. The NFL said there were going to be no punishments for them. It's just like, and then the NFL came out and said, all right, fine Jeff Ulbrich personally $100,000 from a prank from your son. He had to get up and apologize, do a basically apology press conference. What would happen if we did something like this and how our fathers would react?
First of all, I'd like to publicly apologize to Shedeur and the Sanders family for what occurred. Second of all, I want to publicly apologize to Mr. Blank, Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris, and the entire Falcons organization. My actions of not protecting confidential data were inexcusable. My son's actions were absolutely inexcusable. And for that, we are both deeply sorry. The NFL has taken action, and I fully respect the punishment. We take full responsibility, my son and myself, and we will not be appealing the fine in any way. Going forward, I promise my son and I will work hard to demonstrate we are better than this. Again, I'm deeply sorry for our actions.
How mad would your dad be, Scott, if you did this?
I wouldn't be here today, probably. That's how angry. What's absurd, yeah, his crime is trusting his family in that moment, probably in his home.
And let that be a lesson to you all. All of you fools, trusting your families.
It's a good lesson. Can't trust anybody these days.
I don't think the backlash is deserved whatsoever. The dollar amount is insane. And maybe the NFL and organization should just figure out a better way of communicating. I did see an idea as, hey, how about we stop calling guys before the pick is made and just have them find out on live TV and then call them after the pick is announced to live TV. Then you don't have any of these prank calls and you eliminate the phone lines in general.
I think that that's the best solution. It's also the coolest. I mean, don't you think it's cooler to find out you got drafted on TV than a phone call? Like, what? Yeah. I have picked up the phone and talked to somebody on the phone 400,000 times in my life. I've never had the experience of getting my name called on TV for a life-changing dream come true. Like, make it a unique experience. Make it an actual unique experience. I'm a big fan of the leave it till they announce your name on TV method. But yeah, I just think
it'd be really scary to watch, though. You're really on the edge of your seat. But I think it'd be much more fun, much more rewarding.
Right. And also,
here's the real crime of this DC. You named your son Jax. What did you think was going to happen? That's oops. The punishment shouldn't be the fine. It should be the son's got to change his name.
So, Mikey, let me get this straight. So you would not be a fan then of let's say a 25th overall pick Jackson Dart to the New York Giants simply because of his name?
Okay, that's different. That's Jackson, but they just don't know how to spell it. Okay,
they spelled it J-A-X.
Somebody who goes by J-A-X. Oops, wrong. That's wrong. Your name's wrong. You spelled your name wrong. So that's my professional opinion. And I think that when you name your son Jax, he has this personality overcompensation debt that runs rampant, as you see. And so they try to overperform with these types of things in social situations. Guys, I got Shedeur's number. You know what we should do? And overplays his hand because his name is so weird.
There is actually science behind this about how our names shape our personalities and who we become. There's something to that. I don't know how credible it is. I don't know how many times it's been replicated. But I trust it enough to be able to quote it here on this podcast. I mean, Scott, you are a Scott, okay? You're not making prank calls. Me, I'm a Nick, okay? I'm totally a Nick. Mike?
Do me.
You're not a Michael. You're not a Mike. You're a Mikey.
Okay? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
He's a Mike.
I'm a Mikey.
All right, so there we have it. That's just the Ulbrich family having to give up 1/8 of their annual income for a 30-second prank call. Tough one right there. We got more stuff on the NFL, but we got to touch on the NBA playoffs here. And let's start off with the New York Knicks putting away the Detroit Pistons with Jalen Brunson actually hitting this game winner here.
He's trying to wait till the end. Brunson puts up a three. Bang! Bang! Jalen Brunson hits the three.
Which, very impressive. He puts it away. Shout out to Jalen Brunson there. But Jalen Brunson is also known for flopping. Let's take a look at his flopping mixtape here. Spin flop?
Spin flop.
Strong spin flop, okay.
Trying to create some space. Brunson.
Oops. Okay. Staying on the ground.
On the alley-oop. 4-point lead for Detroit.
Oh, that one's honestly, that last one was kind of the most credible one. And then we have to touch on the king himself of flopping, and perhaps the funniest tweet that I have seen on X in the last 3 months. Okay. And that is, let's see.
Third, watch the collision. The foul goes on DiVincenzo for the third time.
Oh my gosh. You're 6'10".
Okay, hold on. Here's it. He stayed on the ground there for a comical amount of time. And then I'm going to scroll up and you guys are going to see this quote tweet, which I laughed my head off at, from a military veteran who lost his legs in the line of duty. I had less of a reaction when my legs were blown off. I mean,
that's great.
you know what? Honestly, I'm following this guy right now. I'm following this guy live on the show because that was
that's so
absolutely hilarious. I mean,
darn it, my freaking legs blew off. God. What are the like these guys who put flopping into their repertoire? It's so detrimental to your mindset and just the way you approach the game. Like if you're focused on looking for the gap and play where you can get a flop versus the gap and play where you can make a move and progress, like you're training your mind, you're poisoning your mind, period. Yeah. And then the other thing is your best case scenario of being a flopper is getting a few extra calls a year. And the worst case scenario is your reputation and respect is absolutely tarnished. Ooh, why would you even make this trade-off? Why would this be a decision you're making? I don't know. It could get a couple extra calls and my legacy would be ruined.
The SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, threats, has not been done on flopping. I mean, what the main upside is just not there. So sadly, we are not seeing the battle of the floppers in the second round of the playoffs because the Lakers got bounced. Jalen Brunson can continue to flop around and maybe hit some game winners in round 2. But we got to touch on an actual really, really good series. The Clippers Nuggets has been the best series, don't you think? So far, Jokic says the same thing. Jokic says the Clippers Nuggets series is the best first round. If you like basketball, like a real fan, not a fake fan of basketball, these are the games you should watch. So Jokic, totally understand.
Before we move on to the Nuggets game, the flopping, especially with LeBron, I understand you're trying to utilize the game and the way in which it's called to your benefit, but when dudes drive to the lane and do all the stuff they do with the ball and then like throw the ball up and they get an and one and everybody's talking about, oh, that was just pure strength. He's just so strong. And then you get flexing and then you get like this. Okay, if you're that strong, that collision's not going to knock you down. Stop flexing.
It's so bad. And I've got to. I'm showing you guys another angle of that. I'm sorry, this is overkill, but this angle is even more egregious. With an 18th rebound. You see that?
God.
Look at this. He's on the ground.
Come on, man. What are you doing? That was the reaction of a doubles Achilles blowout. I mean, and even then, I've seen people walk off Achilles.
I am trying my absolute best here to defend LeBron, and he's making it tough on me. He's making it very tough on me with stuff like that. Also, let's talk. All right, so we got the Clippers Nuggets. That's like legit basketball there. We got that this weekend, Game 7. See who moves on, but. The Lakers getting bounced here, and I know we've touched on it, but like a lot of stuff has come out. I want to show you guys this JJ Redick, head coach, responding to some of the media afterward. And like, my question after we watch this is kind of who's to blame for the Lakers with this very, very troubling first round exit. Here, let's watch JJ Redick respond to the media.
As you watch the film, what do you recall about your thought process in the moment? Sticking with the 5 you stuck with in the fourth quarter the other day, and is there an assistant or someone maybe that you'll lean on tonight, maybe to try to get some other guys involved if that opportunity presents itself?
Are you saying that because I'm inexperienced and that was an inexperienced decision that I made? Do you think I don't talk to my assistants about substitutions every single timeout?
No, I just think there's a lot of coaches lean on their assistants in those situations.
As do I, every single time. That's a weird assumption.
I mean, obviously, JJ Redick is inexperienced. Like, people were talking about him last year. It's like, oh, they gave the Los Angeles Lakers head coaching job to LeBron's podcasting buddy. Everyone likes to call him a podcaster or media guy. This is his first year as NBA head coach. And with that move of playing all 5 of the same guys for the whole second half and obviously exhausting them, some of the older guys, especially like LeBron, come under a lot of fire. Thoughts on this?
I want to say the inexperienced aspect of things, like, he clearly knows ball and he knows how to implement offenses because he's been a part of many great ones over his career. So I wouldn't say that he's totally inexperienced. What I like and what I think is refreshing, while I don't think this is the right approach when asked a question like this, is he does speak. He speaks like players and he speaks to players similarly. Right. And I think there's a level of respect and connectivity that he can garner with guys that many other coaches probably are losing their grip on. So, I don't hate the hire in totality, and it's clear he's decent enough to get them to the playoffs, maybe not push them through. But I think part of the element in this, and we saw all of the stats for how long he was leaving guys in, how he wasn't changing rotations, all of that kind of stuff. I think there's part of JJ, because he's cut from the older cloth. I think that was more of a message to his team, right? Being like, you guys need to toughen up. And yeah, we may sacrifice this year because you guys are so soft. And I think it's more him as a coach just being frustrated with the type of, or the mentality of the player. As Mikey was talking about, you're training your mind in a terrible way. I think he's really frustrated with that, and he saw it just increase over time.
Yeah. I mean, and I know he's buddy also with Luka, and he's like a player's coach. But I actually I liked the move of sending or playing 5 guys, like, just all the way down to the bone, because I think it did send a message there. And speaking of Luka, and then we got to get into the idea of maybe Nico Harrison, GM of the Dallas Mavericks, was vindicated a little bit, because Luka's defense in this are just atrocious, absolutely atrocious. And like, clear his lack of conditioning was an issue. And there's this hilarious tweet here of Luka Doncic, how he moved, how he looked, and how he moved before he came to America, before he was introduced to American food. And it's like way thinner, way more explosive. This is him just playing,
sprinting,
trying hard. Okay. Just slowly, progressively get there. You go. Do we think, I know it's early, it's too early to tell, and everybody always likes to make really early judgments here, and we all deemed Nico Harrison an imbecile for that Luka trade. The fact of the matter is that the Lakers, they underperformed here in the playoffs, and Luka also, could not help them rise past that. Do you think there's any vindication for Nico Harrison?
I do, to a certain extent. I don't think the Dallas Mavericks or any of their fans are giving it to him, but I think overall, there's something in the water going on with just the mentality of a lot of players, and Luka being as prominent as he is and seeing that progression physically. Yep. That's not to say, like, we saw Shaq kind of have a similar evolution. Like, the dude was lanky, just built like an Adonis coming into the league, running up and down the court, and just a freak of nature. And then later in his career, he just got massive. We've seen evolutions like this of dominant players before, but it is alarming when it's a guy that is supposed to be, a ball handler. And,
exactly.
And it really just speaks to his mindset and his approach, and it puts things into question. So I would say, to a certain degree, yes, Nico is vindicated.
Yeah. I mean, like with Shaq, it ended up being all right because just the more massive that he got, the more dominant he got down there in the key. Like Luka, he plays all over. He plays on the perimeter. He brings the ball up the court. He didn't have the luxury of putting on all that weight. I do wonder if they feel a little bit of fire now after this and after underperforming here. What were they? They were the 3rd seed and they lost to the 6th seed. Was that what it was? Mm-hmm. I think for underperforming here in the first round. And if they'll get a center also, I do want to play this clip of LeBron after the game.
LeBron, basically from mid-January on, right when AD got injured, you guys started playing a lot of centerless basketball, and that required a lot from you and Doe and Rui and then Vando once he got back. Just from a physical, like, taxing standpoint, how tough was that for the last 3.5 months to play that style, and do you feel like that caught up at all in this series?
No comment. I'll never say that because my guy AD said what he needed, and then he was gone the following week. So
that's your comment.
I got no
That's comment.
a comment. Put that uniform on every night. I gave everything I had, and that's all that matters.
As an illustration, a very poor technique of the use of the no comment. And then he made a comment that made all sorts of headlines the last couple of days. Basically, that comment of my boy AD said what he needed, what kind of help he needed, and they shipped him out the next day. So basically, just blaming the organization.
What do you think no comment means? It's not a white ball. You can't just say whatever you want and then go no comment.
It erases any sort of the responsibility for what comes out of your mouth next.
You can't just say with all due respect and then say whatever you want to say.
I know. It's the same sort of thing. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel like this is a lot of deflection coming from LeBron. And yes, I get it. He's 40 years old. So asking him to do everything for the team is a huge ask and unrealistic, especially when you have a guy like Luka who's as young as he is, who's as good as he is. So I guess he can stand on those legs because statistically he did perform. But going back to what I was talking about with JJ, it's like clearly something else was going on. He himself, the coach, JJ, saw that this team was not conditioned very well. And it's also part and parcel of what seems to be the approach of players in general. Like, oh, I can rest, even in plays and do all this kind of stuff instead of just playing 100% all time within the 4 quarters.
This irks me. I get so uncomfortable and weirded out when teams do this. Like, and I guess it's the social media department of teams. But whenever they post, like, all right, they post this final. And it's just the score. And they try and be so – it's almost like when they lose a game, a big game, and the fans are going to be very disappointed. It's like, why even post this? Why are they trying to like post it in such a sneaky, nonchalant way and just like final? Just this always rubs me the wrong way. Where do you guys stand on teams making these social media posts when they lose very disappointing games?
I think you just avoid it. Don't post anything. Hide. Don't face it. Only post your successes. Okay, you got to cultivate your image online.
Yeah,
hide it. Nobody wants to see that. It's embarrassing.
I feel like this started this year, maybe a little bit last year too. But it's organizations. They get sort of like patted on the back or clapped for because they quote unquote own it. And it's just like, okay, we all know they lost. Like that admission that you lost does nothing.
Yes.
And it's the perception of you owning it and you gaining some sort of like clout is dumb.
Thank you. Okay,
that is the story. You control it.
Yeah, behind the story. That's the perfect articulation of what I was feeling and unable to communicate in the language of English. Is that it feels like they're trying to get. It's like, look, yeah, well, we're taking it on the chest there, and we're sharing this with you, and here you go. It's like we already know. Stop. It's kind of virtue signaling. It's virtue signaling.
This message needs to come out of the mouth of LeBron, not the social media team.
Not the social media team. Not
like
the social media
having
team.
him own it, or a player own it, or a coach own it.
Yeah,
completely different than the social media team. Like
there you go.
Social media guy is going to do a press conference.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's another thing.
How are you going to turn this program around? I think more pictures, probably.
I don't know. Reels.
I think I'm going to just get better footage. It's on me.
Well, social media managers of sports teams play a big role. I was one. for the last 2 years, and then I got fired. Disciplinary. No, I didn't get fired.
Dishonorable discharge.
I got laid off. All right. Speaking of taking accountability, and we were also talking about family members causing trouble for people with the Jack Ulbrich situation with his father, Jeff. Well, we talked in the last episode about Tyrese Haliburton's father behaving very childishly, coming on the court and doing all that nonsense with Giannis. I'm pleased to say that this news came out. Jon Haliburton was understanding and accepted the choice of the NBA that they're the Pacers front office have banned his dad from games for the foreseeable future. I'm happy with this decision right here. I think that this is appropriate for him coming on the court and causing all of this nonsense and taking away from a really nice moment from his son and from the Pacers moving on to the second round of the playoffs. So I'm fine. And I will say I'm more than fine. I'm happy with this decision by the Pacers. What do you guys stand?
I like it. This is what you do when you ever see the show Dance Moms?
Okay. Let's see where you go.
Okay. It's like the Dance Moms equivalent parent behavior, for basketball.
Basketball dad.
That's all I got. That was my whole.
I know what we'll fill in the blanks.
The conversation that's happening in the open market of Twitter and media at large is probably going to be more corrective than the NBA making some sort of claim or barring a father from going to watch his own child, who is a face of the NBA or one of the faces of the NBA, overrated or not. Like for me, this doesn't make sense. And I actually think it's a disservice to the family. And I don't think NBA entering into a family sort of situation is right.
What if it was just some fan that came on the court and did that? Like, would that fan be punished?
That fan, that fan would be banished from the stadium.
Yeah,
I think that's different. The only reason I'm pushing back against this is because it's a father of a prominent player. But yeah, if this were just a random fan who stormed the court, it's the same deal as if you had a streaker.
You could almost argue that this is a lighter sentence because they're just doing a public thing for this foreseeable future to silence everybody. When if this was a regular fan, they'd be banned for life. But because he's a family member, they're doing the public facing thing. Oh, he's banned for the foreseeable future. That means anything. That just covers them publicly. And then finally go, all right, next week you just don't do the whole scream at his face thing. And so I think it's actually a lighter sentence than and he's getting family treatment with it.
The phrase foreseeable future actually can get you out of a lot of things. It's very vague.
That's I'm actually going to write that down.
I'm of the mind, look, this was kind of a one-off event of a family member, emotions running high. As we talked about, clearly Tyrese's dad had been hearing all the news and hearing his son getting absolutely lambasted for being overrated and all this kind of stuff. He was caught up in the moment and everything. And the way it manifested in his defense of his kid wasn't right, but he's admitted to that. So I think being able to just shake hands behind doors as opposed to the NBA coming in and making some ruling, I think that's over the top.
Sorry, but it's not the NBA, it's the Pacers. The Pacers doing it. And
okay.
I think it's sort of similar ballpark.
Same.
But I agree with you there about them all just being grown men. And also Jon Haliburton in that graphic there said hey, yeah, I totally understand. And I agree with this decision. It's he's owning the mistake. Tyrese was very, very gracious with the whole thing. Hey, my pops is in the wrong. So I think the foreseeable future punishment is appropriate and he can come back in 2 games, what have you. Don't go on the court. What?
Did this detail whether or not he can go to away games or just in the Pacers stadium?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me check back. Hold on. Pacers front office bans Hallie's dad from games for the foreseeable future.
He's just gonna show up to the next game with a big mustache and glasses. Hey, is that you? It's not me.
Not me. No way. All right, so we have that. Last thing on the NBA playoffs. Okay, last thing, and then we got to move on to NFL stuff. The NBA playoffs, let me read you out how these series have gone in the first round. They're a series of 7, okay? Cavs smacked the Heat 4-0. Pacers beat the Bucks 4-1. Knicks last night just beat the Pistons 4-2. Celtics won in 5, winning 4-1. Lakers lost in 5, losing 4-1 to the Timberwolves. Thunder smacked the Grizzlies 4-0. We have 2 series still alive. We've got the Nuggets Clippers tied at 3, going to game 7, and then we've got the Rockets Warriors. So only 2 series that are actually seemingly pretty competitive. And with that, I want to bring up this Colin Cowherd bit where he talks about how perhaps we should be reevaluating how long these series are, especially in the early rounds of the playoffs.
But I thought this was a bad look for the NBA, and I'm looking at stats this morning, is the average margin of victory in these playoffs, and there have been great games and great series, it's the second highest ever. There's been too many unwatchable blowout games. You want all your stars playing in the Brady years. In the basketball world, you want to extend Steph. The way to extend him isn't have him play meaningless games, which your entire staff and organization acknowledges. Let's just get back home.
Yeah, that's a good point there. But I'm with Colin Cowherd right here. I mean, especially for the early rounds, especially for the first round, because I mean, this is an issue with the NBA in general, is just the stakes and what are too low for too many games. Granted, yeah, it is the playoffs here, but just if we could shrink that down a little bit and make the tension be more prominent in each game. I know the argument is always the TV contract and every game is worth X amount on TV, but that's really, to me, short-term thinking, because you're thinking about that immediate revenue of that specific TV game. But does that not sort of, in the long run, lower the value of the product? What do you guys think? Would you do this?
Well, I'd say it's probably not immediate because it's whatever the length of the contract is. So 10-year immediate. I understand your point.
Okay, yeah.
I would say, yeah. The one thing is it's not as though the first round was always at 7. Back in 2003 or prior to 2003, it was best of 5. As we were growing up, Nick, you and me, we were watching best of 5 in first round all the time, because this was already a known fact that it was just like, okay, generally you want to push through these and get to like the high level of competition as quickly as possible. So I don't see it being a bad thing if we revert to that model to 5 at the most. I don't disagree with Colin here in the 3, but I do think in certain series or matchups like we're seeing with the Rockets and Warriors and the Nuggets and Clippers, that is great competition. So you want to get that middle road, and I think 5 is probably the appropriate number. Also, on top of that, he's talking about playoff games being meaningless. Okay, agreed. There are some of those, but there are so many meaningless games that have cropped up in an 82 game season that, like, hey, maybe we also need to look at that if we want to extend guys' careers. Like, maybe we cut it to 60, maybe we cut it to 50, and let's decrease that number so we don't get like the bloated, inflated feeling that I think everybody's experiencing, and the ratings are dropping. And let's just like tighten it up a bit.
Yeah, dude, I am a huge proponent for tightening up the regular season. You were talking about the TV contract, and just look, the new NBA TV contract is like 11 years ago, so like 2036. And what sucks about that is that, okay, there's the immediate feedback of the ratings of the actual viewership on the game-by-game basis, but this feedback loop is way too long to be making intelligent decisions. It's like when I do a YouTube video and I have a sponsor in it, they can directly see the results of the viewership that I garnered and the results from their sponsorship there. Whereas with this 10-year feedback loop, it allows for the NBA to continue at this level, because technically the ratings don't really matter for these 10 years because they're locked into that contract. And if they were forced to act sooner, I think there would be some short-term pain. But in the long run, it would create a better product. Why not for these next 10 years, decrease the regular season by 2 games a year? Okay. You miss out on 2 games of revenue, TV revenue. But then by the end of this TV contract, you've got a 60-game season of higher stakes basketball where players are having to play more intensely throughout the year, and the per game ratings and viewership would increase, and the overall viewership, in my opinion, would increase. What do you think?
I mean, on the surface, I agree with you there, and I think that's not a terrible idea. The one thing you're going to have to also put into the calculation is the arenas and the staff and the organizations losing out on 20 games worth of dollars that they otherwise would be able to garner from getting fans in the seats. But then you'd have to look into the numbers of like average attendance. Like, are you actually bringing people in, or is it the appearance of bringing more people in, or the opportunity of bringing more people in? So there are a whole lot of things here, but something's going on. If you're not going to fix necessarily the number of games, you gotta look into, as we were seeing right there with the flopping and everything, you got to look into gameplay, or the way in which we're calling the game, because we've talked about different ways in which we can infuse some sort of energy differentiator into the game to where it doesn't actually change like the essence, but it shifts the mindset of the players in some way, shape, or form, like with points or size of court or something along those lines. So I think the NBA, while you can lean on, we've gotten billions and billions upon billions and billions of views from social media, what is that actually? Is that translating to anything?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think in the long run, look, I mean, views on short form social media are way less valuable than a view on long form, say a podcast or say a full basketball game. So a billion views on TikTok for the NBA, that translates to what? 1 million people watching a full basketball game. I just don't, I think viewership can get so skewed and inflated. People perceive it like, look at these numbers. But at the end of the day, they're not as valuable when it's on short form, when people are consuming things in short form. It's a little bit of a fugazi.
Yeah.
Fugazi. All right. Well, fugazi, tomato, huh? Look, I said it the Europe. Mike, chime in here.
Nick says words the European way now, and it's
do not.
Do not. No.
No. Sorry, that's my Australian accent. All right. Let's touch on then, Mikey, your favorite athlete of all time. You had posters of him growing up. Yes. Cam Newton, actually, with some banger, really, really good takes recently as we pivot here to football.
I do love the outfit today, though, the costume, the Mighty Ducks.
Honestly,
that's tasteful. That's tasteful. There's the line. Stay there and below.
What about the bow tie?
I didn't see the bow tie. The bow tie blends into the beard. The hat, I don't. That's.
It's fine. If you want to be a hat guy like that, that's okay. But just diminish what's underneath a little bit.
And a broken clock is right twice a day. All right, let's see what Cam has to say. His appearance looking great today.
Shedeur Sanders, this message is directed to you.
Okay.
Lead with work, not clout. I think he took on the persona of a DB, not a QB. As a DB, you're able to do certain things. You can speak loud and be rambunctious and have that bravado. But as a quarterback, reminder, you are the CEO of that franchise. What do I mean? You have what I've labeled the super six that you have to pander to. Number 1, the owner. Number 2, the general manager. Number 3, the head coach. Number 4, the position coach. Number 5, the players. And also number 6, the fans. This is the best situation for Shedeur because he has to claw his way to the top. Does he have the capabilities of doing it? Absolutely. And if I'm in his camp, I'm telling him like, bro, let's get to work. Let's control what we can control now. I do see Shedeur Sanders starting for the Cleveland Browns at some point this year.
Okay. Cam Newton coming in with something that I think I agree 100% with right there. And that's kind of what we've been saying is that there's certain positions where that personality, it works. And actually it's kind of, you kind of want
necessary. Yeah.
It's necessary. A corner like his father. That's the biggest disconnect here is that he adopted a lot of similarities to his father's personality. That his father's personality fit with positions that he played and how he played football. It just doesn't match to a quarterback. So I'm with Cam here on this. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would agree with this. Talking about the corner position, I feel like there are only 2 modes of really successful cornerbacks. It's either you are Deion Sanders or in that arena, or you are like a silent killer like Budda Baker. Like, yeah, he's got some swagger, but it's like a silent swagger, and it all comes out in your play, and you just like don't talk to a single soul. You just like get to work. So those are like
those guys are scary. No,
yeah,
that's so
scary one.
The talkers are so annoying. There's like there's just that doesn't impress anybody on the field.
That's what Andy also said about playing against Ashton Genty. Remember we asked him, and I was like, "Did he talk shit? What did he do?" He's like, he didn't say one word the entire game. He just stood back there like Michael Myers, his Michael Myers stance in the backfield,
Don't humanize yourself. It's the dumbest thing ever. Except like if you're a quarterback or running back ball carrier, I'll make jokes. Okay, I'll always joke around. I don't understand these guys, like offensive guys, who talk shit like during the game and get the defense riled up and all motivated to hit them. And what are you doing? It's so stupid. Make jokes, humanize yourself, and subconsciously it'll take a little bit of the edge off.
Exactly.
You know?
I was big on that. I was a big disarm the opposing team. And I'd be like, oh, it's a good block, bro. You got me. Like, just be almost pathetic. I would almost communicate pathetically.
I'd be under the pile and go, owie, 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 and stuff like that. And it works.
So I would love to see more players take that approach than, but not cornerbacks. Not cornerbacks.
Yeah, not cornerbacks. I get that. That's like the Joker approach, right? You make terrible things that you're doing funny, or you make them into jokes. Like that's what you're doing. I like that approach. But going to Cam's points here, I think he was hitting the nail on the head for I think what we've been saying too. And I'll say as a Cleveland Browns fan, I agree with his take. I don't think he's starting week 1 or even within week 5. I think he's playing at some point and will start at some point in the season, but it's not going to be this early because the competition within that room is going to be at an all-time high. And I talked about Dylan Gabriel, and everything he brings to the table. And I think this is just an uphill battle that maybe Shedeur, because he's always been so insanely good and he's always been just the guy when he steps into the room or on the field, I think this is going to be a great experience for him where he has to actually claw to the top, as Cam was saying.
Yeah. And also credit to Shedeur. He did say, previously that he wanted to really get involved in the community wherever he goes. He already went to the school, went and spoke to some kids. There was a video of him going around on social media of him already working out in Cleveland. Granted, I felt like that was kind of a huge overreaction. It's like he's doing lunges up a hill and people were tweeting like, gotta watch grind mode already in Cleveland. It's like, he's working out, bro.
I hate people posting their workouts so much. I think it's the dumbest thing ever.
Well, he wasn't really, I don't think that he originally was, I don't know. A lot of people were reposting it and acting like it was unbelievable. This guy's already working out. Like,
that's so funny. Yeah, working out every morning. Professional athlete. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this guy's training for a job?
Oh, unbelievable. All right. Did you guys see the video of Jackson Dart? Sorry, Mikey, to bring up the name Jackson again. Jackson Dart with Jon Gruden. Did you guys see that? Talking about snap counts and cadences?
Oh, yeah. Love that one.
Okay.
It's old school meeting new school.
All right. Well, let's play it. Because, Mike, you haven't seen it, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on what Gruden says after this. So first, it's Jackson Dart showing Jon Gruden the new school.
Stand up. Let me see your snap count. Let me be honest with me, because I see at USC, I see this guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You ready?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I want to hear the snap count.
Yeah.
Really? Every time?
Every time.
Do you have like a dummy clap or anything?
Yeah, we call it purple.
What's that?
Yeah.
For 3 years you've been clapping. I think I could do that.
Let me hear it.
No, I ain't doing it.
But a lot of people say the game is evolving. The game is evolving. Parts of the game are dissolving. Okay, you don't even see a play action pass anymore. You see the RPO where he pulls it out of the running back's chest, but parts of this game are dissolving, and the snap count has almost totally dissolved.
Okay, interesting there. Also, Jon Gruden is just top 5 media personalities of the 21st century. The guy is gifted when there was a camera around. I can listen to him do whatever. What is your guys' take on this of parts of the game dissolving? Also, I take umbrage with the way that he said dissolving to try and match it to evolving. You don't need to get a little parallel equivalent there with the pronunciation. It's dissolving. But what do you guys think?
I agree with him. There are some elements to the game that will always be innate. And if you start ignoring those, we're going to start seeing the quality of play on the field decrease to a great degree. And the good thing is about the NFL is it's the all-star team of every single year of every single draft class that is playing on the field for the past decade and a half or so. And that's the one saving grace is that there's such a high level of competition on the field that at a certain point, those guys who don't learn how to evolve in the way that Jon Gruden is talking about and playing in the NFL game and the NFL style, they fall by the wayside. And we're seeing a bunch of those guys who highly touted coming out of the first round or second round picks, just never being mentioned again, just falling away into the shadows. So, I like the self-correcting mechanism of football, especially in the NFL game. But it is at risk if coaches, and especially at the college ranks, are not coaching in a certain style. If they just let things go the way they're going, there could be a fall in play on the field.
Yeah, I'm with you on some of those points. But like, for example, the snap count cadence and the clap thing, that doesn't really bother me if they have that. I think Gruden's point about the you don't see play action passes, I don't agree with that. Watch Baker Mayfield. It depends on the type of offense and the type of quarterback. But some of these teams are heavy play action team. Jared Goff, it still exists. I think it's a bit of an overreaction.
Sure, but the only reason they exist is because of the guys who are on the headset, have former playing experience and of the old guard, right? And it's becoming less of a weapon for more organizations, right? There are fewer organizations that are utilizing that, even though it is still effective. They're going in the direction. And having a cadence and having a weapon of a cadence is insane. Like we always talk about Aaron Rodgers, speaking of like play action. This guy, Aaron Rodgers, is an absolute magician with his play action capabilities and his ability to fake and sleight of hand stuff back there in the backfield. Like it's got to be insanely frustrating for defenses to know what the hell is going on back there. And then on top of that, he has one of the most like famous hard counts of all time. So I think Gruden is speaking more toward like, hey, if you want to be great, you have to have these in your arsenal and you have to have them in your tool set. Otherwise, you're fighting an uphill battle and you're making it harder for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I get you there. And I think that's, I don't know, man. I think especially with like the play action stuff, it's down to the style of quarterback that teams have. And if their skill set lends itself to playing football that way. I know like Gruden hammered on all the RPO stuff, but certain quarterbacks play style, like, a Lamar or Jaden Daniels. So that really lends itself to RPO style. Guys who have running ability. So I think it kind of comes down to who's in the backfield and what kind of talent you have around. I don't think it's a broadly cultural issue with the game dissolving.
No, I think it's a symptom of the game dissolving, and he was just pinpointing those two things as being most apparent from the discussion that they were having. So I think a lot of coaches are trying to implement an offense, thinking that their quarterback can have and will have some level of those capabilities. But Lamar, he's a unique black swan event of the NFL quarterback, right? I don't think people are going to reach his level. And we also covered a few weeks ago, if not a couple months ago, Tom Brady bringing up the issue of a lot of guys just aren't learning the game, right? They're learning the game at a surface level. And this is emblematic of that surface level sort of learning because there's so much depth. Like it sounds insignificant, a snap count, a hard count, having that in your arsenal, play action, being able to fake those things and play with the ball. But it's actually such an ingrained part of the game that we're losing and it's falling by the wayside. And that's why I say like Tom Brady's even recognizing that in the way in which people are reading defenses or incapable of reading defenses at a high level. So I think that's what Jon is really speaking to with the vehicle and entry point of that conversation. And that point being just the snap count. Like, it's getting that absurd to where we're not even having snap counts or guys they don't even know how to do it properly yet.
I mean, I think that's the snap count thing is just, it's almost like a silly example of it, but I know what you mean right there. Like, especially, something as important as being able to read defenses. And, we talk about this with certain college offensive systems where quarterbacks are coming out and they're like, he had a great college career here, but this coach just put him in a situation where you didn't have to read anything. You just knew, hey, you see this, throw this. You don't have to read any defenses, and which is just unrealistic in the NFL. You just can't do that against NFL defenses. And so I'm with you on that. If there's a lack of development in something as important as being able to truly read different coverages and know where to do your mental checks and your read-throughs. But I'm fine if they have to learn the snap count once they get to the NFL. I think they can learn it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a difficult thing to learn, but perfecting it takes time and it takes craft and it takes experience. And if you haven't been able to implement that yet in your arsenal, and then the first time you're implementing that is in the NFL level, it's going to be tough to just pick that up.
But every team has a different cadence. Every team has a different snap count. You're going to have to learn it wherever you go.
Yes, that's true. But I think a lot of teams rely on the quarterback's capabilities in that regard. So they look at their skill set in the snap count, and then they adjust to that quarterback. And if, like I said, if you've never had reps in doing that, and all of a sudden you're having to create one, that could create havoc on the offensive side of the ball and timing and so on and so forth.
Okay. All right. Sure. All right.
It's more important. I understand, but like as a quarterback, it's far more important than you would ever expect it to be.
Are you speaking from your lived experience?
Yeah, my high school lived experience.
Is this your truth? Are you telling me your truth? Okay, you know what, Scott? I'll respect your truth. All right, snap count matters. Look, when I'm on defense, like, what are they saying over there? Snap the ball.
You have the luxury of being 10 yards off the ball, so you can adjust a yard.
What did he say?
Scott, I'm 5 yards off the ball. Inside linebacker. Okay, please respect.
Oh, I'm thinking of your safety days.
My safety days. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for even considering me a safety as well. All right, last thing. We got on here the hardest NFL teams to be a fan of, and I also found the easiest NFL teams to be a fan of. And as per tradition, the Cleveland Browns find their way in there. Okay, the hardest NFL teams to be a fan of: 1, the Jets; 2, the Browns. I don't like when they do that for the Browns. I don't.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Dog.
Yeah,
it throws me off.
They're trying to force it hard.
Yeah, stop it. 3, the Bears; 4, the Raiders; 5, the Giants; 6, the Titans; 7, the Cowboys; 8, the Dolphins; 9, the Cardinals; and 10, the Minnesota Vikings. What do you think about this list right here, Scott? Browns got to be 1, man. How you guys do?
Oh, the Jaguars aren't on that list?
I'm surprised. Especially considering how the Jacksonville Jaguars, in the most interesting league on the entire planet, are perhaps the most boring franchise that I could ever imagine. I don't know.
Who's do you have a list of the most or the easiest
or the best? I have a list of the best. Hold on. All right. Okay. I came preprepared. I'm always prepared.
Oh.
That was difficult.
And then the most medium of teams to be a
fan. No, I got you there. Okay.
Okay, actually that's kind of interesting. Who's the most medium team?
Yeah. The most average. All right, here we go. Here's the easiest teams. Kansas City, Patriots. Yeah, not anymore. Eagles, Rams, Bengals, 49ers, Seahawks, Buccaneers, Denver Broncos, and the Green Bay Packers. I mean,
I like this list a lot.
The easy one.
I'm a fan of all these teams, actually. This is spot on.
Look at you taking the easy way, Mike. Fan of the teams that are easy to be a fan of.
Yeah, this is easy.
Yeah,
but the Bengals.
I don't know. The Bengals. I think
Joe
just
Burrow.
Because you
it's easy
you
to be a fan of Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
is it not quintessential underdog story of America?
True. I guess I'm thinking of like
the NFL.
I guess I'm thinking of like success of the team over the past, call it, decade. I wouldn't necessarily throw the Bengals up there. Granted, yes, I know they made it to conference championships and Super Bowl, but
yeah, that's
it's not about their success. It's about which teams you wish success on. You're a fan of them.
Nobody wishes success for the Browns.
Well, I'm
not even out of pity.
The Bills on either of these, because you can kind of argue either way. One, you can argue it's easy because you got Josh Allen and you guys are always winning the division now. Things are looking solid. You're probably going to get over the Mahomes Chiefs hump at some point, or they could be on the toughest list because they so far have not gotten over that Chiefs hump. I'm a little upset that they're not on either. I can find a strong argument to put them on either one of these lists. Don't you think?
I got to imagine that they're number 11 because
on which list?
On this one, on the hardest, and also
hardest.
Maybe they should rephrase it. I don't like hardest. Maybe there may be different like parameters to fall on this list, but like most painful, the Bills are definitely on there, having gone to 4 Super Bowls, having had the most high level of success over the past 5-6 years and still never making it and being this close. It's like that's why the Vikings are on this list, is because they've never won a championship since the NFL merger back in the day.
Yep.
And yet they're like always kind of right there. I mean, I'd probably say in like a second tier of always right there, but the Bills are like,
they're the story of always right there.
I have the answer for the most medium team.
Okay.
Okay. Any yeses? Because I have the correct answer.
Most medium team to be a fan of. It's just like, hold on.
Don't. Yeah. Give me.
When I say it, you're gonna know. And I thought it all myself.
I'm gonna know because you will have.
When I tell you, you're gonna know.
Hold on. Give me a second here. Hold on.
Is that insight you're providing?
I have
Scott, go.
2.
Let's hear
Okay.
it.
My number 1 would be the Colts.
Okay.
And then my number 2 is Washington.
Okay. Mine. Hold on. Mine is the Chargers.
That's it. I said Colts. That's what I thought. I was very surprised, Scott, you said that right away. But that's because it was a good answer by me. Colts. They're so medium.
Yeah.
They're the most 7 out of 10. Bland.
I missed.
The
I lagged out.
Crossroads of America.
Well, it was the Colts.
Crossroads. The middle of, I think that's the most quintessential mediumist team. Boom.
Yeah.
There's my pick.
Good. That's actually good. That's medium as hell.
Yeah.
It's so medium.
Just maybe just like nothing on there. Maybe a little bit of salt, and that's it.
You gotta season your food better.
Yeah.
All right. So there.
Oh wait, Mikey, I thought you actually pulled it up. Like there was a list of them. That was your decision.
I just thought in my mind and accepted that as truth.
Straight out of Mikey Alfieri's brain. And it, you know what?
When do you think outside of your mind?
That's a great question. Only on Tuesdays.
It's difficult to do. It's very difficult to do. All right, there we have it. Scott, that was my way of bringing up the Browns and the pain that you guys have suffered.
Yeah.
But no longer, because you have Shedeur Sanders, who works out as your quarterback.
Honestly, I would much prefer to be just out of the limelight for as long as possible until we come into the light, like the Lions did. Everybody just didn't care about them except for on Thanksgiving. And then all of a sudden they figured it out. And now they're on prime time every other week.
There we go. You guys are on
that.
your Lions trajectory. Good luck.
Okay, here's my last point of it. If I was the NFL, okay, I would post workout videos of me doing like really bad push-ups and like horrible forearm sit-ups with like music and stuff as my off-season workouts. That's what I do. That's the kind of content I'd put out.
That's funny.
And that's it. That's what people should do.
No NFL players are funny enough about being in the NFL, huh?
Yeah. Be funnier about it.
Definitely go check out Jameis's Instagram and all of the content he's put out on his workouts. Those might be the best things I've ever seen.
Okay, we got to check those out.
We're going to watch.
Jameis is a national treasure of the United States, the entire globe. All right, there you have it. All right, everybody. We will see you on Monday. It'll be just Mikey and I, right, Scott?
No, I'll be there on Monday.
Okay, you'll be there on Monday. We'll talk about what happens with the Clippers and the Nuggets in the NBA playoffs. All right, everybody. See you next time.